that.
Yeah, the radio is for some reason, I guess Shoutcast is offline.
I see.
So,
Okay.
all right. And there you are, live on YouTube.
All righty. Who's starting?
I can start.
Great. One.
Okay. So we're at lesson 81. And, Ken starts this off saying that Helen was really, in this lesson, she informed Jesus she did not want the same mundane introductory statement repeated throughout. One of her criteria for judging whether Jesus really was who he claimed to be was to see if he would dictate different words for the opening of each lesson.
Really? I didn't know that.
Well, you know what? If you have the journey, don't you?
What?
Do you have the journey through the workbook of Ken's?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. I have that. All right. So he's giving us like an idea. It's so funny because, the mind takes this course, and for every seeming separated son of God, it has different ideas, and then the ideas go into a conversation with other course people. And what I want to say is, after the years of looking, through the dream and seeing it's not real and we're only the infinite self, I kind of realized that that a lot of people need to believe that it's Jesus Christ, the person that's talking to them. And that need comes to the one that needs it. I didn't need that. I didn't come in with an idea of anything about Jesus, right? Because I wasn't brought up with Jesus. Dove and I both share that. But what I did know is when I got to, before A Course in Miracles came, I kind of was interested in the saints, and I was taking books out of the library. So that was really, it was such a subtle direction on understanding that just to believe in Judaism was not enough, right? Because I was brought up Jewish. Now I don't have the background that Dove has. My mother used to sing a song to my older sister and I. It was called Hebrew School Dropout. But I was in first grade and she was in third, and she didn't like Hebrew school, and I loved it. I just loved it, but I would not betray my sister because she would get in trouble. So I went along with it and just pretty much, I dropped out. And my mother we have 4 girls. So the 2 younger ones went to Hebrew school. They're more religious, all this stuff, But I remember feeling so good in Hebrew school. Why? Because there was a memory that there's absolutely God, right? Because I was only maybe 5 or 6. And we all have that memory. One can't have the memory and not all, right? Because it's an undivided will. And that's today's chapter, in chapter 8, the undivided will, the sonship. We basically are all going home together. It's just one awakening, one being, and there's nobody special in this world that is waking up, because it's one awakening, So with Jesus, I want to say that, my mind will sometimes say, well, they're not reading it right because it's not Jesus. No, this is the Son of God talking to Helen. The Son of God is talking to Helen as Jesus, just like I'm the Son of God talking as Sharon. However, it's not the person, but it doesn't matter. Whatever helps somebody on this path helps them. This isn't like history or where you have to get it right, right? You just allow it to just embrace you with love, however anything shows up, right? I'm observing a lot of things going on in the country of Christian nationalism. And, of course, then I look at my thoughts and I think to myself, well, that's terrible. This is not right. You can't make a whole world Christian. And these are all our thoughts. Our thoughts are judgment. And what I'm looking at today is to really watch my judgments, because I'm in a dream. I'm in my dream. I'm playing Sharon, And getting caught up and being addicted to the ego was something that I really recognized in the last week. And I realized that it's just time to just say to myself, do I want to play anymore? Do I want to play with my thoughts? Do I want to play the game of separation, or do I want to just be the being? Right? It's not about doing, it's about being. And that would be God's son. You know, I listened to Ken this morning a little bit, and he was talking about how some people believe that they are God. And, you know, it's not what the Course is saying, right? Because we are just part of God. We are not the creator. However, our powerful mind creates our stories, but our stories are meaningless. To an ego, they're not meaningless. To us, they're meaningless to who we are, the I am presence. You know, so how do I stay with that? Well, through ritual. You know, I'm developing a time in the morning to write, to look at whatever might be coming through my mind, and to realize pen to paper does something. It really does. It calms the nervous system. So the nervous system can balance out. The ego is not the bad guy. It just doesn't know what we are. It thinks we're people. You know, and it thinks we have a story, a personal past. So one of the greatest lessons, and everyone here loves this lesson, is I am the light of the world. And truly that's a memory. Because when you see that you lighten up as you go through this process, you realize that only your concepts were weighing you down, right? And then he goes on here, Ken, and he says, how holy am I, who have been given the function of lighting up the world? Let me be still before my holiness. In its calm light, let all my conflicts disappear. In its peace, let me remember who I am. And who am I? Well, there is no separate I. And the experience came years ago when the Inner Ramana came out. I think at the time when Regina had that come through her, yes, I was in the room at that time. And the I am that I am was a mantra that Ramana Maharshi was giving us to use to calm the mind, right? Because the I am presence is all we are. There really is nothing that happened. And that is absolutely shocking to the ego, right? But as the years seemingly go by, I realize, how could any of this happen? I'm looking at my own thoughts day in and day out. And I want to be able to be right. And I want to be special. And that's what the real work is about, specialness. Food is special. People are special. But is light special? Is light the only thing that's special? Yes. Why? Because that's who we are. But it's not who Sharon is, it's who everything is. Everything is made by light, the light of consciousness. It's absolutely a miracle, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's perfect unity when we realize that all we're doing is slowing ourselves down from just being here right now. And then the ego gets in there and says, well, I'm bored. Well, of course it's bored. It doesn't know what to do. It's the doing that it does. But really, was the ego ever the doer? No, can't be. Because ego is a separation thought, a judgment thought. I don't like this and I like that. That's what it does all day longer. I never could do that. I couldn't do what he did, not ever. And that's all of our arrogance, because it's comparison, but it's not anyone's fault. It's the way this whole dream that we, as the one son, set it up. So what I love about the process is to make aware is that this process takes time, even though there is no time. I mean, I'm in timelessness now, quite a bit. You know, the awareness is alive. It's going to show up for everyone as God's sons differently. It can't be the same. Even though we are the same, the unfolding is unique. It's personal in that way, but it means nothing. The unfolding means absolutely nothing. All we're doing is an unveiling the thoughts, I believe, to the love's presence, which is what this is all about. This is love in action. And to slow down, to taste your food, to drink your water. Do Do I want to get to the end of my water when I drink it, or am I going to just feel it, you know? Slowing down is the answer to peace. The mind is connected in a way that is constantly, it's movements of the mind. And when we sit in the peace of who we are, we realize it's been nothing but a dream. And to take it seriously is the problem. And that's something I do quite a bit. I do laugh at myself. That's the best thing I could do. So he says, in this first lesson, we find a clear statement of our real self reflected in what the Holy Spirit's voice reminds us of, our function of lighting up the world. As we had seen when we discussed this lesson earlier, we do not illuminate an external world as with a lamp casting its glow. The world exists only in the mind of God's Son and is darkened because we have chosen to listen to the ego. What is it darkened with? Thoughts. That's all. There are no thoughts in God. No. By thus choosing the Holy Spirit, we become his light of truth. Since God's Son is one and the world is in the Son's mind, we become the world's light as well. In the light, conflict cannot be, for it exists only in the darkness of the ego's thought system of opposition. And that's what it is, right? All right, so now I think, who wants to go next? I don't know who to pick, but I'm going to say this. Maybe it would be Dove, because I know Lorri was just getting up. So Dove, you take the mic, and I'll just be patient. That's my day. My lesson for today is be patient.
I'll be happy to go. Yes, we're on a review lesson 81. I am the light of the world. And also, forgiveness is my function as the light of the world. And I'm looking at the italics, and it says, but I will not use, let this help me learn what forgiveness means. Let me not separate my function from my will, but I will not use this for an alien purpose. Now, what do you mean by an alien purpose? So an alien purpose would be anything that the ego comes up with, such as I want to point out something that everyone should know about. And, I'm looking at what's been going on. I also, on Open Minds, received the bill-free posting. I wasn't even aware that I was there until this morning. Apparently, he posted it on the 17th, which is a couple of days ago, actually 4 days ago, and I didn't see it until Dakini Wild, who is from Australia, a wonderful Course in Miracles teacher student, gave a long response to it. She says, in response to your comment, wake up. I am in the spirit, and use Course quotes as an inspiration comes from a lived experience of applying the remedy Jesus has given, which is the practice of true empathy, capital T, capital E, true empathy to all life situations, from a suicidal family member to having a neighbor murdered to the death of a friend. Now, that's how she starts off, and then she goes on for about 6 or 7 paragraphs. And I was reading it, and I realized that what seemed to happen with and I think today is the day that Andy Lecomte comes here to teach at 2 o'clock. Believe it or not. I'm asked to not be here at the same time. I'm asked to be at a Zoom session for the Foundation for Inner Peace. So I'm going to miss it, but I'm sure it'll be recorded, hopefully. But everything that happened from that seemed to be something that has, in a way, divided the Course community. There's those people that and say, oh my God, I'm so glad that this book was written, and that it should be pointed out what some people do to victimize others. And some people say, no, if you're practicing the course, this thing shouldn't even be, something that you give any credence to, or even talk about, or uh, so it came to me that it's really a lesson that we all came here to learn. Literally, it's if the course community could be split, divided, separated from a story. So what's really going on here? The reason this whole thing came up for me is I received a private message from Bill, because he apparently thought that when I thanked thanked her for her wonderful response on Open Minds, that I was agreeing with her. Yeah, I did agree with her, but what really came through here is that she was really applying the course to everything that basically we were talking about. And you can't just apply the course to what you want. You apply the course to everything. And what came up as my birthday lesson, lesson 133, which Jesus says in the first paragraph of lesson 133, this is a very practical lesson. And he says sometimes it's really good to have a practical lesson in between all of the high, lofty themes that this course teaches. So what's practical about lesson 133? I will not value what is valueless. What's valuable belongs to me. Is it sets out the criteria of what has no value in this dream to you, the eternal. And even though he gives you three criteria, what's really practical is the first two. And the first two I call time and space. And I've spoken about it many times here at ACIM Gather. And time is where you basically value something that begins in time or ends in time. And anything that is in form fits into that category. So anything that is made in time, and certainly not in eternity, has no value to you, the eternal. He said, what value could anything be that is not eternal to you, who is eternal? So if you're valuing those things, and once you look at what it is that he mentions, although I'm sorry, he doesn't mention the actual things in that lesson. But if you go to lesson 76, I'm under no laws but the laws of God, and he kind of laughs and smiles and jokes about the things that we think are laws, like the laws of money and finance, and the laws of nutrition and diet and food, and the laws of relationships. And he says, those aren't laws. So the things of time have no real value to you, the eternal. So if I'm the light of the world, and I'm valuing these things, I can't be the light of the world, because the light of the world brings the light of the eternal love of God into the world. And if I am discussing things that are of time, and money certainly is of time, then what have I done? I have forgotten my function. Lesson 82, or lesson 81, which includes forgiveness is my function as the light of the world. If you're forgetting your function, then this is true forgiveness. true forgiveness is certainly not forgiveness to destroy, but it says like, listen, I'm setting this up to see somebody else as responsible, when in truth I am the dreamer of the dream. I'm doing this to myself because it's a lesson I came here to learn. It's a lesson I came here to learn. What is the lesson that I've come here to learn? That we are equal, we are one, we are all included equally in the one mind of God. And what is God? What is oneness? What is equality? It says in the Course, it says inclusion of all leads to atonement immediately. Inclusion of all leads to atonement immediately. And if I'm responsible, my only responsibility is atonement. If I'm responsible for atonement, what else is there? That's my only responsibility, is to accept the atonement for myself. And the only way you can accept the atonement for yourself, the only way, key word is only, is to include all equally. So things that happen in this world are just lessons. That's all they are. Like lesson 193 says, all things are lessons God would have me learn. All things are lessons God would have me learn. And this is just one of those lessons. You know, why is it here? It doesn't really matter why it's here. It's what is this teaching me? What is this lesson teaching me? And what teaches me is to see that nothing happened. Literally, nothing happened. Really? Nothing happened? Yeah, nothing happened. And with that, I'll turn this mic on over to you, Lorri.
Thanks, Dov. That's pretty much the tack I was going to take, that nothing happened. And so when we say, oh, it split the course community, well, the course community is a bunch of egos. You know, people's opinions are egos. And, you know, course students are not above that. And so, you know, the whole thing about it is the Course in Miracles book itself. This book that has just come out about A Course in Miracles, or about an aspect of it, they're all our projections. And so when we can look at our reaction and go, well, what's my reaction? What's a lesson? All things are lessons God would have me learn. How am I reacting to this? And what does that say about my state of mind? So that's the basic thing here. And I was noticing, I will be there at 2:00 today. And I was noticing I was angry, and I was picking out passages in the book that I wanted to ask the author about. But noticing, oh, I'm feeling angry. Okay, all right, then this is my projection. There's something here that I feel like I have to defend, but that makes me separate. I don't have to defend anything. When I was thinking of writing a review on Amazon about this book, and you know, addressing certain passages, the message I got, because I was riled up, the message I got was truth is in need of no defense. You know, and really, so when we look at that, and that's what A Course in Miracles is about. A Course in Miracles is about nothing in this world means anything. And I had an interesting experience last week where I was talking to somebody, and we were trying to work something out, like a disagreement between us. And it was so clear to me that every single thing we were saying, his opinion, my opinion, everyone, BS, 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 BS. None of them meant a doggone thing. And I had, instead of just saying, you know, none of this means anything, I had imbued it with so much meaning that it almost needed to come at me like, this is all BS. My opinion, your opinion, it's all BS. And sometimes I need that. It's almost like I need a slap upside the head because I'm so immersed in it that I can't see. And it's like, it's all BS. So even this whole, this whole hullabaloo is BS. None of it means anything. The only truth is God's love. And when we get to that place and we abide in that, which I'll admit, I've been having a hard time lately, because the separate self in me, or the separate self that I think I am, has been struggling for a couple months, slightly. Nothing like I used to. And I won't go back to where I used to be because I know I can't. But this little bit of a struggle, like, this world, it's all my projection. And in the holy instant, when I go, there you go, thinking that you're the dream figure again, living in this world. And when you think you are the separate self, you will feel heavy. You'll struggle, you'll strive, you'll have highs and lows, or you'll feel a constant one or the other. You're either going, trying to get your goals met in the world, or you're, what's the point? They're all ego states. And one thing that I am so grateful for is the consistency of being reminded. I can't stay there very long. I probably can't go more than even an hour without being reminded, oops, you're not that person. Choose again. And I'm comforted by a line in chapter 18, section 3, Light in the Dream, that says, as you come closer to the light, you will rush to darkness, because the light is so scary. But you will succeed because, being in the light has been your goal. And so I'm comforted by that this has been particularly hard, but I can feel that it's the undoing of the physical health of the body is one big hook here, but the other undoing of the biggest hook for this ego personality is being undone. And I thought it was undone before, and it was to a large degree, but there were still some pieces and remnants that weren't healed and that I fell back into. And so as that's being undone, it has not been easy to stay clear, but it has been consistent, and I am so grateful. And doing the lessons every day, staying clear, being compassionate. This has given me so much compassion for the ego and for all the special relationships we set up to make us feel better. Like, oh, life is so hard, but boy, this one thing, I love this. It makes me feel so much better. And then, of course, when that thing fails, which it will, yes, like Dove, you're showing, yep, of course, that will fail, because everything in the world will fail you because your goal is God. And that's the only thing that never fails you. And there's this church nearby me that has a sign out front that says, fall for Jesus. He will never leave you. And that's true. Everything else will leave you. Your job will leave you. Your friends will leave you. Your lovers will leave you. Your health will leave you. But Jesus, God, will never leave you. So I'm going to turn this back over to you, Sharon.
Thank you, Lorri.
Yeah, this is interesting. I wasn't even thinking about what happened. I did read, Andy's book, and I absolutely thought it was beautiful, the way he explained things. Again, I don't want to judge any of it because, from a course perspective, it teaches us from the very beginning that we have a teacher within us. And I would think that that would be Andy's lesson. However, I'm not going to sit up here and lie and say that I wasn't upset about what happened to him, because I was. The small self was upset. Now, I realize his thoughts made this story up, and our thoughts do it too. However, I have a lot of respect for Bill Free. I really do. Because, I was chatting with somebody who's well known, I'll say his name, Rick Archer. He and I he doesn't really know me, but on Facebook Messenger, we do sometimes message each other. And he read this book during the summer, and he said the reason he doesn't like to interview course people is because they become nihilistic. And I'm taking this out in the open because it's necessary for us to realize if we follow Ken Wapnick, he doesn't do that. He talks about levels, right? So the level of the world, this was not okay. You don't, again, I would never, as the personality Sharon, go to someone if they told me they needed money, I would leave. That is not, that I had enough, I guess, value of myself or whatever it was of the personal self or the personal mind, not to give money. I mean, certainly you pay for services. If you see a teacher, you want to pay for it, that's fine. But when things get that crazy, that to me is a red light, just is. Now, on the other hand, I think that David has a magnificent way of teaching. I have his books and I love his teachings. That's right-mindedness. So what do we do from this as a lesson? We get the message and we let go of the messenger, because the messenger will have scraps of fear in them. And that's what I think happens to people. The ego gets propped up. So I think David's a great teacher, yet I think the value in this is, yes, we are all God's son and nothing happened. But if I got raped, you better believe I would talk about it. Why? Because I'm a personality too. So this is where Ken Wapnick is the person that I go to for integrity. I don't like when courts people say nothing happened when somebody gets raped or when somebody loses everything. I don't like that. That's just, and is that the small I? I don't think so. I think that's discernment. I think that we need to have compassion for everyone on this planet. True compassion or true empathy is for me, that I see them as the Christ. It's not for me to tell anyone else. That's just arrogance. So in my humble opinion, I think what Bill did was absolutely necessary. And I just think that, you know, Andy has an absolute gentle soul. And yes, he will find that he even posted that on Facebook, that the true teacher was within. And I learned that too, but I didn't learn it the hard way. I learned it the soft way. I stayed with teachers for a little while. Sometimes I would go back and forth. That was just ego stuff. And I'm responsible for my mind, right? I'm responsible for what I see, but I will call out things in this world and I will not lie, whether it's real or not. This is the teacher I follow, and that would be Ken Wapnick. He will never, you know, if any of us believe that he was the best teacher, he tells you, be normal, be normal. And that's something I really want to stress today, because I find that when Rick wrote that, he doesn't want people on right now from course communities because it becomes nihilistic. Let's be honest, none of us, if we got hit by a car, we would hurt. This is the thing. But our mind can be clear. Our mind can be responsible. Our mind can love everyone, including the one that hurt Andy, right? Because it's just part of the story. You don't need a teacher outside of you. Now, it turns out that I'm actually contradicting myself because Ken Wapnick was outside of me. But I had the same understanding that Dove had. If you read Journey Without Distance, it's clear to me that Ken was picked by let's just say Jesus. And when people use that word, sometimes it makes me laugh because it could be any of us. You know, Jesus is just a word for love, right? So I feel that as I am, and I have had so many shifts, but with that, yes, like you, Lorri, I was angry, but maybe you were angry with what he wrote about the courts. What I was angry about was that no one ever has to be mistreated. Always hug your brother. Always love your brother. We're all walking each other home. It doesn't feel good when we don't acknowledge a wrongdoing. And it's also helpful for the person that's doing the wrongdoing. So anyway, getting back to this lesson, the light will take care of everything. And it's obvious to me that nothing happened, but I'm not going to pretend that I am not going to ignore a whole world. That can't happen. I'm too clear and honest about it. You know, nothing happened. Well, you know, things do happen in this world of form. That's why that we're here. We're here to learn lessons, like Dove said. What is my lesson? Well, in the 12 steps, it teaches us to just take care of our side of the street. So really, I don't have to get out there and ram anybody out, but I do want to be honest. And I think I'm hoping that if I ever became enlightened, I would never not be there for someone that was hurting, not ever. Because to me, that's the compassion. It's not like I'm seeing this, just this little self. It's that I'm loving them. What does love do? I mean, love is patient. Love is kind. The things that are in the, and I didn't grow up Christian, the Beatitudes, all of that is all about the fact that you want to show up as a messenger from God. A messenger for God would understand that the God's teachers need to look at all the things that we are asked to do and the patience that we have. That's what I said my lesson is today, to be patient. And also to forgive myself for judging, because that doesn't help my mind, but it is important for me to always show up honest. Over to you, Doug.
Wow, I think that what you just hear was really first of all, correct, beautiful, very deep. And you said something which kind of woke me up on a topic. Rick Archer doesn't like to have Course in Miracles students, teachers on his.
He didn't say that. He said after reading the book, he's seen too many people become nihilistic. So, that's what he said.
Well, okay, I understand that basically they don't speak at different levels, and then you mentioned that Ken Wapnick does recognize that there are different levels, and it's okay to speak on different levels. No, I understand what the nihilistic meant. I imagine you meant it on that there's different levels, and after you said all of that, I realized that maybe the only thing why anybody here is talking about it, not so much about the book itself, but for instance, Lynn was talking about the other day because Bill Free posted it on ACIM Gather for A Course in Miracles on Facebook, and she said, "Look, I don't want that to represent what ACIM Gather is about." And certainly she has that right. And I noticed in my own mind, in my life, I don't want people to post stuff on Open Minds, which is when I started, almost 15 years ago. We got some 30,000 members of Open Minds. I don't want someone to come and put their negative thoughts as something they want to post, so that people who want to know what an ACIM Gather or A Course in Miracles is about is going to read that stuff. So Bill Free could be fine, but once he feels that he has to post it on other people's things, that's a slightly different way of looking at it. When you said, listen, I have a personality. If someone rapes me, you better believe I'm going to tell the story. But probably you're not going to go and put it into the newspapers so much. You're going to go to the authorities. You're going to go to the police department. You're going to do whatever it is in which the person is actually made to pay for whatever it is that they did to you. I guess if Bill wanted to, he could go directly to David Hoffmeister and speak to David.
He tried. He sent him 3 different emails. So yeah, and David ignored him.
I see. Well, then okay, he did.
See, you're saying that David ignored him, but you don't know when you are in a position where somebody's going to bring something like that to you. You're going to have to, ask and figure out, what it is that's really happening, and not just respond to everything that comes like, oh yeah, you're right. we don't know that he hasn't addressed it, but we just haven't heard it. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but and I'm not defending anybody and I'm not accusing anybody. I'm just saying, you know, we don't know what anything is for. So we're over here like, oh yeah, well I know all about this and this is what's causing this is what made this happen. And you don't, we don't. That's just a fact. So, these ideas that, somebody done somebody wrong is really just assumptions on our part. Again, we're saying something really happened here.
Well, I'm not going to
Something really
deny that
happened
I
here.
read the book, and I'm going to say this, nothing happened. Let's be real here. So a man got hurt. That's all I'm going to say.
But a man said that he was hurt, and you're right. That's
I'm not playing games with this, okay? I just do
this is
feel,
not playing games, Sharon. We're either in the reality or we're in the fantasy. And if we're in
you know
if
what,
we're in
Lynn,
the
I'm just trying to
reality,
say that when somebody gets hurt, why can't we just acknowledge that? I don't think that Bill may be posting on ACIM Gather was wrong, but Bill, it still was brave enough to come forward. So many people would be afraid of that because course people can be the worst people to attack you. That's something I've seen. And you know it too.
yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just, it seems to me like everybody's jumping on the bandwagon one way or the other, and there is no band and there is no wagon. That's what we have to understand. And if you study A Course in Miracles and you think there's a band and you think there's a wagon, then you're going to be jumping on and going along with it. Zoma has her hand up, if y'all don't mind. Zoma?
So the question is, who's in charge of my pain? Who's in charge of my feelings? Who's in charge of my anything? I am responsible. So I hear Sharon saying that somebody got hurt, but if you're saying that somebody got hurt by someone else, then that's an illusion because you can't hurt me. You can't hurt me. I'm in charge of my feelings. This is what this mind training is all about, realizing that nothing out there can do anything to, and it says it's just like that in the course. Nothing outside of you can hurt you, nothing outside of you can bring you peace. It's all right here. It's all me. We have, I don't care who it is. We have to be very careful. I mean, we could talk about a doctor in the hospital who gave the wrong diagnosis and all that. You know, nothing that God doesn't will can't be. It's supposed to be this way for whatever the reason. It's all for our learning. It's all for our growth. And as I'm hearing this right now, I don't like usually jumping in on stuff like this, but I am in charge of my feelings. You can't hurt me. You might say something and I might give it meaning. Come on, lesson two. I might give it meaning and I decide that it's going to hurt me, but you can't hurt me. So no spiritual leader, no teacher, no one can do anything to me, because if that's the case, then I'm saying that I am a victim, and I'm
Well,
not.
that's
I'm
true.
complete.
And Zoom, I appreciate that because the truth is it's all happening by itself too. So there really isn't a person out there. So in the story, so coming back to that, I can see the clarity coming back in my mind. But I do feel like, I'm a rather sensitive person. So I feel like, if something happened to me, I would certainly want to be acknowledged. But again, I am responsible, and I feel like I think that everyone has to put themselves in that persona and say, well, how would I handle it? Well, probably I'd handle it maybe like Andy. I don't know. But I can tell you, I'm letting go of the victim consciousness and victimizer consciousness and kill or be killed, because I realize that all thoughts are my thoughts, right? And, I'm not trying to be a better person. I'm just trying to be real of where I'm at. This is where I'm at right now. Nobody's wrong and nobody's right, but this is happening and it's unfolding actually on its own organically. So yes, I understand what the book says, but live it. That's the thing. I've got to live it, and living it is to understand that everything's a lesson. Over to you, Doug.
Okay. I realize when I'm listening to all that happened, and I certainly heard what Lynn had to say, probably this would not even be a topic or a subject if it wasn't posted on first ACIM Gather for A Course in Miracles and then on Open Mind. We wouldn't even be talking about it, literally. I mean, I talked about it because the first thing I opened up my computer this morning and I see a message, a private message from Bill, in which he then canceled the message and erased it. And I guess he didn't like the fact that I agreed with Dakini Wild, that I thought that her way of seeing was a very pure way of seeing it. At least I'll use the word pure, coarse way of seeing it. And then as I'm listening to everyone talking, what I realize is we do the same thing at ACIM Gather. ACIM Gather is a place where, for instance, the reason people like it here and why they say that they enjoy the community and it's the best group that that we could put together. I'm so glad that these people are here. Is that we never use correction, we never use judgment on anything, because I would not want someone to come to ACIM Gather and say, "Oh, this is what A Course in Miracles is about. You're making each other wrong. I don't need this." So when Lynn said, "Hey, listen, post it on your own thing." I mean, I don't want to say anything, but if Bill and Lisa have a website, which they do, which is followed by tens of thousands of people, they just renamed it from Teachers of God to the Center for Awakening. They could post it there, and I without looking, and I can say this almost for sure, and someone can correct me, but I am almost certain they did not post it on their own website. And look at that. Look at that. They thought it was okay to post it on Facebook on someone else's site, but they did not post it on their own website.
Well, I guess it's the same crime if you really look at this. We're doing what the ego does. We're going around in a circle, right? Because they didn't post it on their website, they're wrong or not or right or whatever. The thing is, it's just a happening, and that's what I have to get into my head. But I do love this guy that I if you read his other book too, I have both of Andy's books. He's a very beautiful soul.
Okay, he's going to be here at 2:00, so all are invited to listen to him. I guess I'll listen to the recording of it, but we do hope it's recorded and put it on YouTube. Lorri, you're on.
Thanks, Deb. And again, I'll come back to whatever our reaction is our own personal projection. Whether we like the book, don't like the book, because I've had feelings on both sides, and I'm looking at them and going, that's what this ego thinks. And if we get back to this lesson today, lesson 81, the review of forgiveness is my function as the light of the world. And then it is through accepting my function that I will see the light in me. And in this light will my function stand clear and perfectly unambiguous before my sight. And what I would say is just bless everyone to take 100% responsibility for their dream, for their projections, because when we've done that, and everyone in this room has done that, Sharon, you've taken responsibility. You don't blame your ex-husband for stealing $1 million. You don't blame him for physical.
Actually, it was 3 million. I'll make you laugh now.
But you don't.
No, I could care less. Yeah, I mean, the forgiveness fell away naturally. I think that would have been hard for Sharon.
Yes. So the thing is that the whole point of the course is to say, we do not realize that they are acting out for us. Everyone's acting out for us. And I think the hallmark of someone who's taking responsibility for the projections is to say, yeah, that seemed to happen to me, and it was bad and it was rough, but on some level I asked for it, and guess what? I can choose again, because all of us in this room have had really crappy things happen to us, and we don't sit there and point the finger. Now, there's a difference between you can call out certain things and say, not cool. like things that my ex-husband did in our custody thing. He flat out lied. He flat out manipulated. He did all kinds of things that were really icky. They were really bad. And I can say, you know what? It was the dream. I asked for it. It's the past. It's over, done. He's dead. I mean, what the hell? So the thing is that when this part, it is through accepting my function that I will see the light in me. And in this light will my function stand clear and perfectly unambiguous before my sight. So we forgive it all. We forgive the appearance or the illusion of, oh, this big hullabaloo controversy now that people are taking sides. We forgive the course book. We forgive David Hoffmeister's community. We forgive Andy's book. We forgive it all, knowing that David is me, Andy is me, the Course in Miracles book is me. It's all my projection. And guess what? When it's all done and over, we'll just smile and laugh and say, the only thing that's real is love. Now, when we say the only thing that's real is love, I don't call that nihilistic. When someone will say course students can become nihilistic, and they can be, I've been that way. I know I've been that way. But really, when I'm truly doing what the course suggests and accepting atonement for myself, and my one responsibility is to know who I am as the Christ self, as the light of the world, I'm not nihilistic at all. I can look at the world and say it's kill or be killed. I can be realistic. Have you been in a nursing home lately? Have you been to a war zone lately? Has one of your loved ones died of cancer lately? I can be realistic about this world is a kill or be killed, painful world. That's a fact. And there's also a lot of beauty in the world when we're projecting or extending from our right mind. But when I am truly doing the course as it's meant to be done, and accepting my one responsibility of the atonement of what I am, I'm not nihilistic at all. I'm shining that light. That's what it says. It is through accepting my function of forgiving the world that I will see the light in me. And in this light will my function stand clear. And that's what, so even though I said earlier, I've been struggling the last couple months, every time I come back to this holy instant of, oh, that's right. That's right. This is the true self. This is the true self in everyone. This is my lesson here, is to, no matter what's appearing on the screen, I know who I am and what I am. And that is so far removed from the nihilism that when I first started the course years and years ago, I was just so happy that the course said that this world wasn't worth anything, because no other spiritual path that I had found said this world wasn't worth anything. And I had been feeling that for decades. And one of my clients who had depression, he used to say, he goes, it's not depression, it's being realistic about the world. He goes, if you can see the world clearly and you don't think like this, there's something wrong. And I happen to agree with him, but then that's also just another opinion. So I'm going to turn this back over to you.
Okay.
Sharon.
Yeah,
Can I just pick
feel
up
like
for a
it's-
second? Thank you, Lorri, for that. And what I think the thing that is kind of being missed in all of this, which I think you just pointed out, is whatever I'm seeing is a projection of my own thinking, and it's what I want to see. If I want to see people being bad and being victimizers and other people being victims and me being a victim, that's what I want to see. And that's where I have to go to correct the error. I don't have to go to the people and say, stop being bad. I have to go to my mind and say, why am I choosing this? And can I let it go? Because that's the whole, either that or I'll never be able to accept the atonement, because the atonement tells me, this never happened. It's your own thinking. So thank you for that, Lorri. Anyway, sorry, Sharon, go ahead.
What I'm going to say is that this is all good, because when I got up this morning, I was actually writing in my journal about the fact that I want to be done with being victim and victimizer, Now, I'm going to also be honest, because I said it the other night when Brooklyn was teaching, that there's an addiction in my mind with the ego. I do like the guilt sometimes. I do watch dramas with Cliff. We love that. But the thing is, I know that's not real. However, I'm able to own my mind and say, yes, I like drama. Like I would read a lot of Louise Hay years ago, and she wouldn't put anything in her. She wouldn't even watch even a dead bird die. This is the kind of stuff that she would, because she wanted no parts of anything that this world was about, right? She didn't want to look at death, and this is her path. My path seems to be unwinding in a way that I truly am, and this has been told to me over and over again that I have that empathic personality. I do. And so when anybody gets hurt, that's been me all the time. And this is something I've shared with Gloria because she has that too. I fill up, my eyes fill up automatically when somebody gets hurt. Now, that's happening through me. What are my thoughts? I can't get to the unconscious thoughts, but love is love. And love is kind. Love is patient. Love is understanding. I cannot be self-righteous because to me, that's ego. Everything in this world is ego. There is nothing in this world, including most of the people that talk about the course, right? So we're learning to let go of victim and victimizer. For me, it's a process. It's just because of maybe my sensitivity as an ego. Who knows? I don't want to make anybody wrong because the truth is nothing did happen. It's happening only in mind. There is no world. And it's all perfect because it is for our learning. And the one thing that Dove started out with is that we are learning lessons. Our lessons are that the only thing that's going to ever help us is God. But to get up and say, I take responsibility, complete responsibility, in any kind of energy like that, that's still ego. You don't have to tell your brother what you believe. You know who you are. Just be happy, right? And just understand that we are healing together and walking each other home together. There is absolutely no one. In fact, today's reading is the undivided will, right? So it is normal. I want to say this for egos that teach anything, whether it be art or to think they know. And maybe they think they know more, right? So this is why it's happening for us. Nobody knows more but your teacher inside. We all have our own individual curriculum. And I think it's important. Now, when Lorri mentioned I let go of what my husband did, I certainly did, but this didn't happen by Sharon. It happened by the one. Sharon can't do that. She still has that in her. Do I still have ego? Absolutely. I said I'm still addicted to certain things, right? But that doesn't mean that I don't know the truth. And I really believe that, my son, my oldest boy, is actually at his dad's right now. Of course, he's 44. He's not a boy, but he was telling me what a good time he has. And I had nothing but the sweetest peace from that. Because, again, all of it was just silly stuff that happened. And so I saw that yesterday and I thought, wow, I'm really, really progressing. It's what Ken always says, right? Ken always says, if you can come back real clear in a moment, then you know that you're progressing. So that's it. Dove, you want to say goodbye to everybody?
Thank you. I'm going to say thank you so much for concluding with that way of looking at things. I know that you are a person of empathy, and exactly as you say, you tear up if someone is hurt. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone. Bye.